Okay, I'll just keep an eye on the room and we can get started. So, welcome all to the ninth annual summit for CWIT's Women in Tech Conference. Okay. And this is the Practical Uses for 3D Printing in Everyday Life session, hosted by the 3D Printing and Design team. Yes. So here's our agenda for the evening. We'll start with some introductions and a poll, and then we'll do a brief lecture about where 3D printing and design can be used and applied. And then the majority of our time will be used to do a self-watering planter, which I think is very exciting. And then we'll have some time for some questions if you guys have any. Um, so yes, throughout the entire presentation, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and then we'll answer them as soon as possible to the best of our ability. So first, this is our team. My name is Chantel and I'm the lead intern for the team. I've been with the center for, this is my second year now, and I've been working with 3D printing and design for about 3 years now.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see all of you here. Thanks for coming. My name is Nadine Templeton. I'm an intern on the 3D printing and design team. I'm finishing up my second year as an intern on the team, and I'm a junior undergraduate student studying cognitive science with a focus in neuroscience and computation.
Hey everyone, glad to have you all here. My name is Nelson Chavez Cubas, and I'm an intern for the center. I've been here for a few months. I just joined the team. I'm a master's student in my second year, finishing my degree in instructional system technology at the School of Education.
And I didn't mention this, but I'm an elementary education major in my senior year this year. And our champion is Leanne Ney. She works in the makerspace in the library, and she is awesome, and we love her. Before we get into where 3D printing and design can be used and applied, Nelson has a couple questions he wants to ask you guys. If you want to just ask them out loud and then they can put their answers in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be good. So question number one is, are you familiar with 3D printing and have you designed or any 3D models in the past? And just put yes or no. Awesome, we have a couple yes, couple no's in here, mostly no's, which is good because that's why we're here today. Then I guess question two would be, actually let's skip to question three. I think it's the most important one. What areas are you most interested in for 3D printing in terms of like what you would like to learn about? Option one is healthcare. Option two is education. Option three is manufacturing. Option four is automotive. And option five is home improvement or personal use. So I can repeat those. Healthcare, education, manufacturing, the automotive industry, or home improvement or personal use. Okay, healthcare.
Okay, those questions just gave us a little bit of insight about what you guys know, what we could talk about, what we could answer, and ideas for future events for you guys. So we'll get started. First, I'll talk a little bit about 3D printing in medicine. It's quite new, but there's a lot of progress that's been made with it. There have been printings for organs, casts, and things like in the picture, pieces for skulls, and a lot of people in medicine use them to create real sized organs and things like that to practice surgeries and to give them better ideas on how to do things more efficiently.
Okay, my slide is on education, and 3D printing is also being used in the field of education, both at the K through 12 level and at the college and university level. And in K through 12 education, they're using math, especially in geometry, for students to better understand 3D shapes and their dimensions. They're also used as manipulatives, which if you ever been a teacher or you remember teachers would often have these like little materials that you can play with and count and stuff. So they've been 3D printing a lot of those things for teachers to use. And then in science, they've been able to help students learn about DNA sequencing, as students are able to go online and design the DNA models and then they're printed and then they're able to kind of put them all together and understand how this all works. At the college level, we have some subjects that use 3D print and design as well, which include graphic design, informatics, engineering design, product development, and computer graphics. Students at UT Austin and Virginia Tech design and test 3D products for customers and learn to use the CAD models and STL files. And CAD models are computer aided designs, which help students kind of create something and then it tells them how feasible the design is and if there are any errors before the student can print or get the resources to do it. So it really helps them kind of conserve their energy and focus on what needs to be fixed. And then also, I think medicine is one of the most common ways that it is currently being used in education, especially at the college level. There are Duke University students who are partnering with surgeons to design 3D medical devices to kind of help people with back pain. And a lot of these students, they work with the surgeons and they create the medical devices, but they're not really like able to use them because they're not cleared. You know, a lot of the um, like if you actually need surgery, you would have to have a very specific model for your own body and your own anatomy. So these are just kind of projects for students to get a better understanding of how they can use 3D printing for to create solutions in the healthcare industry.
Awesome. Thanks, Nelson. So we've talked a lot about how 3D printing can be used in different industries. Our team has hosted different events on that too. But on a more practical level, you can actually create your own and print your own models and 3D prints for your own home and personal use. So I have a couple pictures here. So on the top left, that's actually a soap dish. The next picture, it's a citrus juicer. Then there's like a cable management organizer, and then there's also a chip bag clip. So all of these can actually be found. You can design things like these on your own, as we'll see in our tutorial today. But on the internet, there are also a wealth of resources for 3D models that you can access on your own. So one website is called Thingiverse. So Thingiverse is an open source 3D print or 3D design database that you can access for free. And what you can do with this is that you can search for any sort of practical 3D model that you'd like to print, such as a phone stand, a cable organizer. And through this website, you can find the 3D print files and actually import those to a 3D design software. And if you're an IU student or you're in a place that has a 3D printer or you have your own 3D printer, you can simply import these files and then print them off yourself. You don't need to do any designing at all. So the hope is that in the future, 3D printers will be just as essential as maybe a smartphone or wireless internet, and you can print these practical things on your own.
Lovely. Okay, so now we're going to move into our tutorial for the evening, and we're doing a self-watering planter, which I'm really, really excited about. Do we have any questions before we move on? I can't see the chat, so if you want to unmute yourself or if Nelson or Nadine wants to. Please, Viz. Okay, so if you want to follow along, that'd be lovely, but if not, there's absolutely no pressure. So if you want to go to tinkercad.com and create yourself an account if you have one, if you don't have one already, to follow along. Yes, okay. I will get out of here, hopefully. One moment, please. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Sorry. Okay. Now I'm gonna screen share again. Okay, so this is what we'll be making today. It looks a little difficult, but I promise it's not. Tinkercad is a kind of form that you could use to create your own 3D printed items. It's very user friendly and it's something that I highly recommend for beginners. So we're going to go home and create a new one. Sorry, it's taking a little bit to load. We're going to create new design. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot. Nelson or Nadine, if one of you can put the PDF file with the written instructions in the chat for anyone who wants to follow along later or follow along not with me, that would be lovely. We're going to change the name to self-watering planter, and I'm going to do 2 since this is my second one. Okay, I need to. And then we are going to start out by moving a cylinder to our work plane. And we're gonna change the dimensions. We're gonna make the length and the width and the height 80 millimeters. I find it easiest to click the boxes and manually put in the numbers.
There's a question in the chat. Is there a code for this? So you would just be starting from a blank Tinkercad work plane, if that answers your question. Or are you asking about the direction? And feel free to come off mute if it's easier. Oh, okay, you got it. Awesome.
Okay, thank you. So this is just our, I guess, the regular pot for it. And so we want to add a little bit of dimension to it, make it a little fancy. So we're going to add some ridges to it. And we're going to do that by taking another cylinder and dragging it to our work plane. And we're going to increase the sides to maximum, and you'll do that right here. I didn't do that right here, so let's do that. Okay. And then for this new one, we're going to change the dimensions. We're going to give the cylinder a length and width of 81 millimeters. And we're going to give it a height of 1 millimeter. So now we're going to move this second cylinder underneath this first one. And we want to align them, and we're going to do that by collecting all of it and using this button in the top right. And we want to click the center ones to center it. Now we want to get out of align mode, and you just can click off of it. And I'll zoom in a little bit so that we can see it more clearly. And we want to duplicate it. So you do it by clicking the smaller cylinder. And there's a duplicate button up here in the top left. And you can also do Control D if that's easier for you. So whenever something duplicates on Tinkercad, it duplicates right on top of the item. And so what you want to do is take this black triangle right here and move it up about 2 millimeters, like that. And then we want to make all of these are just all the way up to the top. So you'll duplicate the second one we just made, and it'll go up 2, or it should go up 2 millimeters. If it doesn't, you can move it yourself. And keep duplicating until it gets to the top. Uh-oh. Ooh. Whenever you see a red line on your item, it just means that it's loading. Let me zoom out just a bit. Uh-oh, not that much. Ah. Sorry, it's taking so long. It was a little bit quicker earlier today. Okay, now that we have ridges all the way to the top, we want to hollow out the inside of our pot. And we're gonna do that by dragging a cylinder hole to the work plane. And we're gonna give it a length and width of 75 millimeters. And a height of 80 millimeters. Okay, that's from top view, sorry. Okay, so when we group these two objects together, a hole will be created, and we want to make sure we have some thickness at the bottom so that it can hold our water, since this is a self-watering planter. So to do that, we're going to rotate our view to the bottom, and we're going to click the center square of this one, and we're going to change the height to 75. Okay, now we can align them. So we're going to go back up to top view and put this on the inside of this one, collect everything, and align it with this button up here. Okay. And then once they're all aligned, we want to group them together, and then that'll make our hole. And the group button is up next where align is too. Or you can use Control G. Sorry, it's taking a little bit. Okay, there we go. So there is that. That's how it should look. Uh-oh. And that's the first part of our planter. Do we have any questions? So we can move this off to the side since we're done with that for a moment. And so now we're going to start with the inside of it, which is the more complicated piece of it, but not to worry. We're going to start by moving another cylinder to our work plane. And we're going to set the length and the width to 35 millimeters and the height to 24. Next, we want to move the cylinder upwards by 6 millimeters, and we're going to do that using this black arrow right here. Since this is how high it'll actually sit inside of the planter. Now we want to drag a new work plane onto this cylinder, and you can do that by using the work plane tool up here. And next we're gonna drag our cone shape to the new work plane. We want to make sure the sides are at maximum. And we're gonna set our top radius to 37 millimeters, and you can do that by just clicking the boxes over here, which I find is easiest to get the exact measurements I want. The base radius is going to be 17.5 milliliters, and the height is going to be 30 milliliters. Ta-da! Now we want to align these shapes. And so to align them, you're going to hold down Shift and click both of them. And then click the Align button up here. Okay. Once those are aligned, we don't want to group them together just yet. We want to add another work plane on top of the cone. Let me dive out just a little bit. And then we're going to add another cylinder on top of that. We want to make the sides maximum. And then we want to have the length and the width to be 80 milliliters. Okay. And the height to be 10. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I'm looking at the tutorial along with you. Okay, now we want to add one more work plane and add another cylinder on top of that one. And this one is going to be 80 by 80 by 10. Now we want to, I think I might have given the wrong ones. Okay, my apologies. So for this bottom one, I gave you the wrong dimensions, and we're gonna change those to 74 by 74 by 20. So it should be a little bit thicker than this one. I'm gonna delete this one and do it over. Uh-oh. This one is 80 by 80 by 10. There we go. And then we want to align these. So you do that by holding Shift and clicking both of those and aligning them right here. Uh-oh. There we are. Okay, and now we want to move our work plane back to the bottom. So you do that by clicking the work plane and then clicking the ground. Ta-da! Okay. So now we have 3 pieces. This one, the cone, and then this bottom piece. And so now we want to hollow these out so that water can go into it. And we're going to start by working with the top 2 cylinders right here. And so the first thing that we're going to do, once you move all the other pieces out of the way, you want to click on them and you want to click on the bottom cylinder and duplicate it. Ah. And it duplicates on top of it, but you want to make it a hole. And then we want to change the dimensions of it. And we want to change the dimensions to 71 by 71. So it's just a little smaller. And then we want to take this black triangle and lift it all the way up until it protrudes the top. And then we're going to highlight all 3 of them and align them first, and then we're going to group them. Uh-oh. Let's try that again. There we go. It should be a hole all the way through, so let me fix that. Ungroup them. Uh-oh, I'm having a little trouble today. What is it that I'm doing wrong? My apologies, everyone. Let's manually make it longer. There we go. And now we'll group them all together. There we go. There should be a hole in there. And then since we hollowed that one out, now we're going to hollow out this cone. Let me zoom in a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate it and make it a hole. And we're going to change the radius to the top radius to 35.5 and the base radius to 16. Now we want to align them. Uh-oh. Just these. They're already aligned, and now we want to group them together. And now that one has a hole as well. Now we want to do it to this bottom piece. Move it forward a little bit. So we want to duplicate this one as well. Turn it into a hole. And then we want to change the length and width to 32. And now we want to orbit our work plane to view it from the bottom. And we're going to take this middle white square here and change the height to 21. And now we're going to go back to the front or the top view, whichever works best for you. And we're going to align them and group them together. So that shouldn't have a hole all the way through, like the other two items. Okay, now we're gonna assemble our inner pot. So we're gonna we're gonna move all three sections near each other. Let me change my view. We're gonna highlight all three and align them. I'm gonna click these center ones. So now they're all aligned and we wanna group them together. There we go. As you can see, when we group things together, they all turn the same color, which is what we want. With 3D printing, you usually can only print one color at a time, unless you have a very, very fancy printer, then you can do 2 colors. But if you print both of these pieces separately, you could do different colors if you'd like. Okay, so now we wanna make the holes for the water. For the water absorption, sorry. And we're gonna start doing that. We're gonna move this over a little bit. And we're gonna bring a cylinder hole to the work plane. And we wanna make the length and the width 3 millimeters. And we wanna make the height 75. So it should be really long and skinny. Okay. Now we want to take this and use this arrow right here to rotate it 90 degrees so that it's horizontal. Now this part can be a little tricky and it'll take a little bit of time. No worries though. You want to move it over to here. Actually, yes. I skipped a step, but it's okay. You can use this arrow to kind of move it up and down, and you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to move it left and right. So you want to make sure it's poking out of both ends like that. And then we want to duplicate it and use this black arrow to bring it down. And then we want to duplicate that again, and you should have 3. Like that. And now you want to highlight all 3 of those and duplicate it and take this bottom arrow right here and turn it 45 degrees. Then you want to take those 3 and duplicate it again until you have 4. Four sets. Like that. Mine is a little uneven, but that's okay. We want to highlight all of that, and you can align it if you like. And then you want to group them together. and that'll make your holes at the bottom. And we want to make some holes through here as well. So we're going to take another cylinder hole, use the same dimensions, 3 by 3 by 75. And you want to put them through here, not all the way at the edge. And you can check to make sure that it's coming out so that when you grip them together, there's a hole. You want to duplicate that one and bring it, bring it over here and do the same thing for the other two sides. Just to make sure they're on all 4 sides. Click all of it and group it together. So you should have this. And that's pretty much it. We're all done with our planner actually. And so you can put them inside of one another because that's how it'll actually be when you put them together. To see what it would look like, you can align them. I grouped them together by accident. You can align them. And if you click off and then click the outer one and make it a hole, you could see the inside. And that is your planter. Do we have any questions, or is there a piece of it that you guys would want to see again because I moved too fast?
Just by a show of hands, how many of you like have house plants at home or anything like that that you think you might want to use this for? Feel free to just like raise your hand in Zoom. Also, yeah, Nelson just put something out about the evaluation. Mira, Spondita, nice, nice. Caitlin, cool. Love to see all the plant lovers.
Is there anything that we can answer for you or show you again? I know I went kind of fast and I messed up quite a bit, so. The links in Hoover are not clickable. Let's see if we can fix that.
Let me see. We had a shortened link for the evaluation, if that helps. I can send that again if you joined late. And then you might be able to just highlight it and then copy paste it. Sorry about that. And then anyone who wants the directions, I'm going to send it again in the chat. Just in case, like if you weren't able to follow along or anything like that, you can, after this meeting, you can try it out on your own. So Caitlin said
So if you have
something.
any questions about it, I'll put my email in chat. Feel free to email one of us and we'll be more than happy to help. We have about 15 minutes left, and we're not going to keep you if like you have other stuff to do, because I know it's really late in the evening, so I completely understand. But we're here to answer any questions that you have. So.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dee. We're glad you could come.
This one records, so we could go to mine.
I'm curious, Marcus or Victoria, what kind of things you would like to print or design, or like what led you to be interested in this field or the subject? Looking- I'm looking at the original Prusamini. I'm like by like people like just the people like you and me that get so deep into it that they make their own printers, and then they start selling them. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, like not just their own like 3D printed things, but like their own actual printers, I guess.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like it just shows like independent the field can be.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know some people who like, yeah, who actually make their own 3D printers, which is I'd love to do that someday, I think.
That'd be awesome. That'd be like the ultimate capstone for the Alliance team here. Just hey, can you
Yeah.
make your own?
Or we could all make one
Nice.
maybe.
That'd be
We
cool.
can move to my Zoom so that we can end this one. So
Okay. Sounds good. See you
bye.
guys. Bye.